This is Jane's Videos, and we are back with another HAUNTcast, the podcast about haunts, as the name suggests. And Fearville in particular, it's been half a year since we did one of these. I can't believe that. That was January, and now it is July 1st. So it's been half a year. But the reason we're back now is because, what do you know, it is July, it's summer, and what comes after summer is fall. Therefore, it is time to start preparing for Fearville 2024. Last time we talked, we discussed 2023 and some plans for 2024, but not much. Now the cat's out of the bag, all the promo stuff's out, just about, and all the information is out, as well as pre-sale tickets and all of that stuff. So it is time to discuss Fearville 2024. And I am joined by four lovely people. I have Lindy, Boyan, who was here in the other one. She is the makeup artist at Fearville. I also have Mac Ralston, or Haunt Former.
You can't count. There's three other people.
There's three other people. There's four of us total. There's three people. I have Mac Ralston, Haunt Former, who is returning to Fearville. He did Port Chum last year. And we also have Sadie. Is it Sadie Tarr?
Yeah.
Sadie Tarr, who is our new makeup artist for Fearville to help alongside Lindy. So I'm first. Yes, welcome to the team. I'm first going to give this over to Mac because why not? He's already made himself known.
Well, I think it's going to be different, obviously, because, I started doing garage haunted houses. This was all inside stuff. And then last year I got thrust into the outdoors, into the great unknown. And it was weird because it was a hayride, which is more of a ride almost than even a haunted house. So it was a completely different thing for me. And I thought I handled it fine. I think there are definitely things I wish I could have done better or differently. But given the limitations, I think it went over pretty well. This year, it's a trail, so no hayride, and instead focusing on kind of a walk-through path, which I've personally always loved trails. There's a place near us called Screamageddon. Shout out to Screamageddon, even though they're the competition. But it's a cool place, and they have at least one really solid trail that I always enjoy going in. And there are interior portions of those trails, of that one specifically. And so to work on the interior parts is going to bring me back to the good old days of doing garage haunts. But then the outdoor stuff's going to be an interesting challenge. And with the theme this year, which I can get to in a bit, I think there's going to be a lot of great scare potential for the outdoor elements.
I want Lindy to talk, but I don't fully know what I want her to talk about yet.
I was sitting here thinking what I was going to say.
Well, I guess we already know that you're doing makeup this year, but
indeed.
I guess let the people know basically what type of projects you're going to be tackling that we've discussed so far.
For Fearville? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I am going to be working primarily in our good old Maple Hollow section and a little bit in the Oddville section as well. Maybe not with Mac. We'll see if you need my help.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm a mask guy,
right.
So,
and the viewers all know what the theme is, right?
Yes.
Cool.
You already opened it.
Perfect. I thought so, but I didn't want. I tend to spoil things. I'm good at that.
the cat's out of the bag.
Exactly. So my main focus is going to be classic Halloween, just like monsters, I guess you would say, or creatures, people, things that when you think of Halloween, like, oh, that's gotta be there. So your witch is one of the bigger projects I'm gonna work on. It's gonna be a spooky, green, disgusting witch, and that's gonna be a little bit more complex than last year. Last year was very heavy on painting and detailing, but there's gonna be prosthetics involved this year, which I'm very excited for. And there will be a few other characters that will be very paint heavy and not so much have prosthetics, but that's going to be my main project, is that good old witch. So, yeah.
Sweet. I'm going to pass it over to Sadie now. So since you're a new member of the team, I would like you to talk a little bit about what you do with your makeup stuff and, I don't know, just educate us a little bit on that so people can figure out who you are, what you do.
Hello, Sadie.
Hello,
Hi,
Sadie.
thank you for the highs. I primarily am very self-taught, obviously. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. I primarily like to do realistic effects, so bruising, cuts, any type of gash wounds. That's kind of like where I center towards. I do like doing some glam effects too, but I mean, it's primarily just as realistic as possible. I literally will be studying like real wound books and everything and anatomy. And I was going to say I go from there. So that's my primary focus. That's about it, though. I mean, like, I do a little bit of everything. I like to say that I like to know how to do all of it so that whenever I'm needed, I can do all of it. So I do like working with prosthetics and making prosthetics. And the more realistic I get, the better. So.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we're super happy to have Sadie on board for this season. I think she's going to be a great asset to the team. So for Fearville, we did touch a little bit on the attractions, but I do want to discuss them a little bit, and then we'll get into more specifics about things that we've discussed, and even maybe playing some things on the podcast. Who knows? We'll see where this conversation gets us. Whoa. But I know it's crazy. But our main attractions for this year, as mentioned, there's not a hayride this year, but there are 2 trails, I suppose. Maple Hollow, which is the one that I'm running, is not fully a trail, but it's not fully a haunt either, which is why I'm just referring to it as a haunted attraction. It is a hybrid trail haunt. So it is classic Halloween set in 1955, something I've wanted to do for a while now, because who doesn't love classic Halloween? I've wanted to do something like that for a while, just pure vintage Halloween vibes, but made scary. So I'm really excited for that. We also have Max Trail, which is a full-blown trail, which is Shelter 16, which is a zombie campsite. And last but not least, we also have a rave DJ show that's happening as well.
It'd be interesting.
It is going to be very interesting.
I've heard about that. What is that?
You haven't heard about that?
No.
Oh,
We'll get
really?
into that in a bit.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the last scary attraction is Oddville's Traveling Circus, which is something that I just decided on a week ago. So that's like very new.
I have a question about Oddvilles when we get to it.
Okay, when we get to it. It's kind of like AI, where I kind of just decided it randomly last minute, but I am excited for it because Oddville Circus of the Strange was, of course, last year's, and I have so much stuff still from that. Might as well continue that thing in a scare zone aspect, and I'm excited for that. I'm just going to open up the floor now to anyone who wants to say anything, whether that be Max, Sadie, or Lindy, on your thoughts on what we're tackling so far and what you're most looking forward to, your plans, whatever.
Yeah. I guess I'm seriously looking forward to working with Sadie. I feel like I definitely have more maybe like a mystical creature, I guess, kind of approach, and I like making bizarre, abstract things, so kind of marrying that with the more realistic side of stuff. I'm very, very excited to see kind of the makeup baby children we make, like the amalgamations of makeup we'll make together. And it'll definitely, not only will it just be a fun learning experience, but it's also going to just take the pressure off, too, so I can, really just, I guess I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed myself a lot last year, but really dig even deeper this year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I had a question into that. You and Jaden probably talked about this. Sure. What classic monsters are you trying to tackle beyond the witch?
Okay.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, so quite a few monsters will have masks. So our goblins are going to be masked. Our pumpkin monsters is okay if I'm listing these, Jaden. Yeah, okay, our pumpkin monsters are going to be masked creatures. I'm going to hardcore focus on the gangly green nasty witch. I'm very excited for that, and kind of like a ghostly corpse kind of situation. The inspiration we talked about was kind of leaning into Tim Burton-esque kind of exaggerated features and stuff, and so that's not really gonna involve prosthetics, but it's still gonna be really awesome. So, and obviously our Spirit of Autumn is going to be very pumpkin-y as well. I'm sure I'll throw in some little touches or pumpkin guts or something. But yeah, those are a few of the monsters I will personally be working on?
And we're both working on Trixie, right? Too. Well, and the corpse and
yeah.
Trixie,
yes.
right?
And you got the trick-or-treaters.
And yeah, I was gonna say I'll be doing like a lot of like the effects, kind of making them look a bit more like worn down trick-or-treaters, like they've been through like the ringer essentially.
Oh, good.
So I'll be doing a lot of those effects, which I'm excited about, to make it look really more realistic and natural, like they've been going through it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and Trixie, to clarify, is a character Jaden came up. She is the personification of Halloween tricks and mischief. So she's going to be kind of in orange and black, your classic Halloween colors, and she's going to have candy and like that kind of stuff.
Candy obsessed, right? That's
Something
kind of like her
like that, yeah.
trademark
So-
almost. Yeah.
Beautiful, but
That's cool.
scary. Yeah.
Is she the witch?
No.
She's her own.
So when you think
Separate.
of witch, think of like old hag, nasty witch.
Yeah, okay.
Like, my child, come
Is
eat
there just
this
one
apple.
witch, or are you like doing a few scares with the
Just
same
one
characters?
witch.
Okay.
One witch. Mm-hmm.
Trixie's supposed to be more of like not pretty, but more of like an elegant like thing, right? Or not elegant, but like she's gonna be more pretty.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah,
Like she won't be gruesome to look
Not
at.
gruesome, but I'd still like to do some kind of weird, make more weird.
She looks
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Something
off.
like uncanny kind of.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a great way to put it. Some uncanny.
So like uncanny valley vibes. I
Right.
don't know. Something like that.
Yeah.
Make her
She could have
look
rotted teeth.
exaggerated. She
Mhm.
could because she's
Because
a
she's
trick.
a candy.
Yeah.
Candy.
Eating so much candy, yeah.
I like it.
That would be fun.
But yeah, those are just a few that we'll be tackling. So
Mm-hmm.
probably missed some, but that's okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to
I don't know.
say?
You said some stuff you wanted to talk about.
Well, I'll say a question, which is about the Oddville. Is Oddville dead? because you're obviously going to be the spirit of autumn, so like Oddville can't be there unless you hire some other schmuck to be Oddville. So like, and it's called Oddville's. So are you gonna have like his skeleton?
I mean, his name isn't Oddville; it's Orville.
That would be cool,
So
though.
the circus,
That-
the circus is
Oddville.
Oddville.
You could have his like burnt, charred corpse on the
See,
ground.
I haven't figured that out yet,
That would be cool.
but I was thinking that it was burned down by
Oddville himself
one of them.
or Orville.
I don't remember which one. It would either be Polly, who was the leader of the clown troupe, or I was leaning towards the assistant ringmaster, who was Era's character, because I could just throw Era in
Oh
there,
my gosh, there's a lot of lore to this.
and that would
When does the novel drop? The novelization.
You gotta write it.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
waiting for a writer.
I'll just use AI.
So I'm thinking Era's gonna be running the show for that.
Nice.
Okay, that's cool.
More than likely. Once I talk to her about it.
Alright,
I haven't
well, that
asked her
makes
yet.
sense. So there's carryover. There's still a cast member from last year that's going to be in charge.
Probably.
potentially.
Well, I'll probably have 2 actors at most in that, because I don't want to put too many in there. But if I do, they're definitely just going to reuse last year's costumes. Like, there's no reason
Yeah.
not to. So
yeah, because you already have it.
yeah, and that's why it's so easy to just carry on that story, because it makes sense why it's the same people, because it's the same storyline and thing, which no one's going to care, but whatever, I'm doing it anyways.
Some people will.
I'm sure,
We have
yeah.
a couple people, like regular returners.
Yeah. And people liked the posters last year, so they'll probably recognize them and put that
They did.
together, put 2 and 2 together. What do you want to say about Shelter 16? Because you didn't really get to talk too much about that. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about Maple Hollow and stuff as it comes across. But I do want to hear some things on what you have planned for Shelter 16.
Gosh. Okay. Well, Shelter 16. Here's the thing. I try to intentionally make it border. I can never do something normal. Every year I have to do something odd because that's just who I am. So I couldn't just do classic graveyard with zombies. It's just not my MO. Jaden likes to stick more traditional, and I respect that, and I like the classics, but I want something novel and something odd. So I'm like, okay, I've always wanted to do a full-blown zombie haunted house. Zombies are my favorite monsters. There's a lot you can do with zombies. I also have a butt ton of zombies. I have a ton of zombie props. I have a ton of zombie costumes and masks and all that. I'm covered on that front. But what could I do differently? And there were a few options in my head, but I ultimately stumbled on my interesting fascination with public access parks and national parks specifically, and camping. Basically the thing that won me over is, imagine you're walking on this trail and you enter kind of a campsite and there's multiple tents, and from the tents zombies pop out of the tents, and there's also a campfire in the middle. Obviously not an actual fire for liability purposes, but a faux fire made with like an air fan thing with lights and that kind of deal. So I thought that was a cool vibe that I like. And it also fits that area well. I mean, I think there's some palm trees and stuff, which is not like a conifer type of forest, which is maybe what I was going for in my head, but we'll work with what we got. You know, I might even try to invest in a couple of like raggedy old Christmas trees just to kind of spruce it up, pun intended. But so I always start with like what would I be doing? Last year I was the fish guy. This year I am, which the fish guy was a popular character. A lot of people like taking pictures, and I like being the line greeter and then double purposing myself as an actor. Mm-hmm. So this year I'm going to be the park ranger, who is a zombie. But the thing is, I have two different zombies that I'm using in this haunt. I usually do, when I've done other haunts, the more sci-fi zombies, the more hazmat style zombies with green ooze and all that jazz. This year I'm going for more of a traditional graveyard zombie. So think like Michael Jackson Thriller music video is the vibe for the zombies. Some of them, because the basic lore is that this park was built on a burial ground. Obviously, you gotta have the burial grounds now. The kids love it. And so those are the more corpsey zombies. Mm-hmm. But then the victims, like the park ranger, for instance, are more fresh kills. Right. So my guy will be a little more... Yeah, he'll still have skin on his bones. Mm-hmm. He's got some moss. I actually got the brimmed hat in the mail today, so I'm going to add some like moss hanging down, like Spanish moss almost. So I think he'll be a fun character to play. And then obviously my actors will mostly be donning just kind of whatever clothes. I'll pick some up at the thrift store, dirty them up, muck them up. And then I have plenty of masks to choose from. I suppose if some people wanted makeup, I could talk to you guys about that. Something probably easy, like we did with Port Chum last year, dark eyes and that kind of jazz. But we'll play it by ear. I like having the masks because they're easy to take off. Like, I get really sweaty doing the haunts, and so you're always like wiping your face, and then the makeup comes off. So there's always those challenges. But I think this is going to be an interesting theme. And the area last year, I thought Wyckoff used that area pretty well. And so I am going to try my best to also utilize it well. But he used a lot of walls, and I'd like to make the open space a part of the scare. Clarify, there's going to be mesh walls to block out any light because of the rave, which we'll talk about in a second. And there obviously will be facades and at least two buildings that you'll walk in. The first building is the ranger station, which I'll have a desk. I'll have a prop of a guy with his like head busted open because the zombies ate his brains. And then there will be Shelter 16 itself, which I forgot what is in there on the blueprints, but it'd be cool if like you went...
Shelter 16 is a legit place in Shelter 16.
Yeah, Shelter 16 is at the park, but it's overrun the whole park.
It is...
It's a part of the park.
What?
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
There's 20 shelters at the park, technically, but you only go into the haunted one, or the zombie one.
Have you considered flashlights? Like,
yes, I have.
Darkness, and then like the goers have a flashlight.
Yeah, what I was gonna do is get cheapo ones from like the Dollar Tree, right, and then like spray paint the light so it's purposefully very old and like. Kinda dim. I thought about this. I've thought of also people stealing it, people throwing it at the actors. Ew. So I've always wanted to do that, Lindy. So it may be something I'll ask DK about. Right. Because that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. And then how many do I have to get? Like how many groups go through at a time? Will I have a bucket full of flashlights?
Yeah, and they return at the end.
Things to think about, but I've always wanted to do that. I wanted to do it back when I was doing the garage ones, but having a flashlight in a garage is not as fun as a flashlight outside. So yeah.
I also, for some reason, as you were talking, I imagined, forcing the haunt goers to crawl through a tent and like in a tunnel. I don't know how doable that is, but
That would be pretty awesome.
I
I thought of an alternate idea that I don't know if it'll happen, but I thought of when they get to actually Shelter 16 to make it more interesting is like at first, like I have an actor outside that keeps the exit closed and like there's a little show in there. Like they get into the shelter and then like the zombies like surround it, like there's windows so you can see outside and they're all like banging on it and like shaking it and then the door opens up and they keep going.
I love zombies.
I do too.
I love zombies.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see how this is gonna turn out because I'm kind of obsessed
I
with
am too.
zombies.
Yeah, I mean,
I have like a zombie apocalypse dream every night.
Oh,
Not even kidding.
well, perfect. You can see all
Yeah.
my zombies. And I mean, last year, if you remember, I showed up as the fish guy in front of the circus, which doesn't make any sense, but I did it for fun. The crossover's fun,
yeah.
so guaranteed you'll see a zombie park ranger walk over to a pumpkin guy in front of Maple Hollow. So
Just stab each other up.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh,
Or walk
he said
through.
dab. I thought he said stab each other.
Well, that too. We
Yeah.
can do
Both.
Goodness. What's this rave? Like, what is
I
it?
Oh,
wanna know
okay.
about
The rave.
Yeah, how do we even explain? So basically, the rave is David invested a bunch of money into this like light show and these big speakers because he wants to do this rave concept, which is he has this like almost like mini warehouse thing with all these this empty space in front of it, and he has this DJ guy who is gonna play like music and like it's like a dance party.
Is it gonna be Halloween music?
That's the thing. I don't know.
Kind of cool. If it was
I've sent
Halloween
some
music.
suggestions
Yeah.
to both Jaden and DK. We'll see if they use them.
Sure.
Specifically, Zombies Ate My Ravers by Figure, which is a lovely
That'd be
tune
perfect.
if you haven't heard it.
I love it.
But so for me, so basically the rave is directly across from my land. It's gonna be decently loud regardless because we want it to fill the whole event because to keep it lively, to make it feel like stuff's happening, it's popping off. But the trouble is for me, half of the haunt battle is the lighting and the sound.
Is it going to interfere with
And so
the
will it
lighting?
interfere? That's my question. Because I like very subtle sounds. Like last year it was oceanic, so I had like ocean waves and like birds and whatever. And so this year I was going to do like cricket sounds and like owls because it's outside.
Yeah.
But obviously having like is going to, I'm sure, interfere with that in some ways. So speaker position will be interesting. And just seeing how the line will work as well. Like if people are going to leave from the rave, come into the line. Like I'm interested in the flow too of like almost a Maple Hollow should be the last thing people do. Like it builds up to the biggest event. So like you'd come in, go to the rave, go to mine, go through Oddville, and then land at the big haunt.
So will that gate be?
Will that work? I don't know.
I personally don't think that's what's going to happen simply based on how people usually head towards like Oddville first last year just because of the placement because it's front and center.
True.
So they're probably going to
might be
head
the
there
reverse.
first and they're going to, which is fine. I don't know. We'll just see how that goes. I mean, there's some people who are probably going to be stragglers who go off the other way. We'll see how that goes. But usually they go towards what's at the end of the
Right.
path first.
Yeah.
Mac, you might be able to use that to your advantage. Like the World War Z zombies, they get all freaked out with sound. They start piling up on each other.
They do.
So maybe, I don't know, somehow, if it's like extra loud at a certain moment, you just tell your actors just to act really.
Yeah, and
Feral,
I'll
I
just roll
guess.
with the punches, obviously,
Right.
at this point. Because I'm also, as much as I'm interested in haunt creativity and like doing this like as a like part of art, I also think the logistical and like business end is fascinating too.
Right.
In the sense of like, how are people gonna navigate going to the rave? Are they gonna leave the haunts and go to the rave? Are they gonna go to the rave first, or how is that gonna work?
Right.
The line and like crowd control is gonna be interesting this year too because like last year with Wyckoff's there was a decent line that would pile up because he had this kind of one person, one party per trip, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm doing it differently, but I still want to make sure people get that experience. And I don't want like the rave crowd or like just people chilling to like
Yeah.
mesh with
Right.
the line. It's gonna be interesting. But thankfully
These are all
there's
fair
a
questions,
path
yeah.
now that DK showed me that looks like it's a good line option. So yeah, all stuff that will.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to like go on site and figure it out.
Right. Absolutely. I'm
Lindy?
just excited. I really am. I'm just excited because I haven't seen the blueprint for Shelter 16, but I've seen the blueprint for
Have you seen the new one? 'Cause
maybe not.
I'm probably gonna have to talk about that. in a
Oh
second.
yeah, like I'm
The-
excited
the new
to know the
Maple-
rundown.
The Maple Hollow blueprint goes a little crazy.
It goes hard.
It's
I sent
yeah.
it to DK, and I
I
don't think he
love it,
understands
but-
what he's looking at. I don't understand what I'm looking at.
Oh.
Well, that's scary.
But yeah, I do need to talk about that. Mac, you kind of talked about your layout, right?
I have a blueprint. It's probably changed since I made it because okay. So one thing you have to know about me is I change haunt themes constantly.
You
And,
mean like
like,
coming to this conclusion?
Coming to this conclusion. Now,
Wow.
I had the idea of the campground park thing from the
changed
beginning,
like
but the
6
monster has
times.
changed 3 times.
Really?
It's been more than 3. There's no
Wait.
way.
Okay, well, technically,
did you decide
okay, so there was,
beforehand?
just for people to get an idea
Weird
of my,
woods.
so the initial idea before anything was it was going to be a greenhouse with killer plants.
I forgot that was even a
That's-
thing.
That was
That's
the first
pretty cool.
idea,
Dream
which
different.
all of these ideas will eventually come back at some point.
Right. Right.
Then I went, I don't have enough plant stuff to do that yet. Then my next idea was called Weird Woods,
yeah.
which was going to be more kind of just everything. It was like cryptid based, so it was going to have like aliens or like fairy creatures, just, you know. And then I was like, okay, scrap the fairies, just aliens. So I was going to do alien campground because I love aliens. And then I finally am like, you know what? This is all too weird. Let's just do zombies because say what you will about zombies, they do them a lot at like haunt functions, but for good reason. They're popular. They sell well. They're versatile.
I have the Maple Hollow blueprints pulled up, and I'm gonna put them
What's
on the
circle
screen.
thing?
Well, I'll get to that in a second. I'm gonna.
Oh,
put
I know what it is.
I'm gonna put this on the screen during the podcast so you guys can look at it because I don't want to make a full separate video about this, so I might as well discuss it now. And while I'm talking about it, I mean, Mac may have some input, but mostly,
I do have input.
yeah, I'm sure you do.
Well, maybe.
Mostly, if there's questions or thoughts from either two of the Maple Hollow makeup people, you guys can butt in whenever and. Yeah, so we can try to have a conversation about that. But, yes, Maple Hollow's 1950s village thing, Halloween. What I wanted with it and what I thought, and backstory-wise, it's basically like the North Pole. I know that sounds really stupid, but it's like the North Pole is where Christmas runs, Maple Hollow is where Halloween runs. So
It's like Halloween Town.
kind of, yes. But it's grounded, so it's supposed to be in New England, northern United States, and it's just a regular town, but on Halloween shit goes down. So
And they haven't found it yet?
no, because it disappears every year and then comes back.
Oh, Michael Myers.
What?
Michael Myers.
So speaking of Michael Myers, the front of the haunt is very based on the Myers house because again, going for classic Halloween vibes here. You have the decrepit house right next to it. There's a shed, which you can see it on the blueprints now, that says Trick or Treat House. That shed, I uploaded Winterville's video last year in December, but it's since removed because it didn't fit the aesthetic of the channel, so I deleted that. But for those of you who saw it in its short run time, if you saw Santa's Shack, that's what that is. It's Trick or Treat House.
spider shed.
It's mostly for people. Yeah, the spider shed. It's mostly for people for the line purposes, but it's gonna be decorated, all stuff like that. You go in the decrepit house. It's a house with Halloween decorations.
Oh, they're going in the shed?
In that house,
House next to the
the house next to the shed. So the line is set up like the street. So that's the neighborhood street is when you're in line. So I'll have lampposts along the queue. So you're walking down the street and you go into one of the houses is the setup.
I see.
So would you have any like trick-or-treaters kind of walking by at all because it is like the street, or is that not an idea?
I might do something like
just
that.
kind of to mess with people in
Right.
line so they're not like bored out of their
Right,
minds
for
if
sure.
it's long.
I might do that. It all depends
So-
on how many actors I have each night.
Right,
Because if I
yeah.
need more inside, like last year when I had a surplus, because there were some nights that we had like more than enough, and then some nights we had like 2 people, but then
Right.
some nights we had like 20. So like I just send them, all right, go outside. So that's definitely an option that might happen for sure. Because I do like line entertaining characters, and I'm going to be doing that again this year. But I'm not going to be a face character for once. Because I spent a lot of money on a pumpkin mask and I got to utilize that. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's being turned.
Yeah, but that's only because it was silicone. So it's,
Fair.
I'm not doing your latex stuff. I'm not doing that. I'm not dealing with it. Yeah. And also it's just
No,
uncomfortable.
he's just a jerk.
Yeah, a couple things.
He's an elitist.
I am an elitist, yeah.
I'm kidding.
But when you leave the house, which is the decrepit house decorated for Halloween, but it's also like run down, I'm going to have some vines and stuff crawling through it. Because it's a house that's built on this property, but during Halloween, when Halloween takes root, I guess, in the town, it got like torn apart by pumpkin vines protruding through it and stuff. So that's what that is. And you walk out of the house into the backyard, which you're now in the backyard of both of the houses because you're behind the little shed. And in the diagram here, if you can see these little circles with arrows, those are actors, and those arrows are showing where those actors are jumping out in what direction. There's one inside that house because there's a door right there, so I'm going to have an actor jump out of that door. There's going to be clotheslines here because the backyard, like in Halloween with Michael Myers amongst the clotheslines. And that's probably where I'm going to put a trick-or-treater for sure in between those clotheslines.
Really close.
And then you go through, they're going to be, I don't have them diagrammed, but they're
right
they're
there.
going to be here behind the house. And then there's a couple alleyways, which these are just alleyways in the back of the town, probably some trash cans, stuff thrown around, but also some like hay bales, pumpkins, just to keep that Halloween aesthetic. And then you go up here, which is actually something that has changed. So just disregard what that says, where it says cemetery, and put pumpkin shack that you see over closer to the left side where that is. So this is a little pumpkin shack that's going to be built with the jack is back prop and some human pumpkins.
Oh, is
human
he here? I
pumpkin
didn't
heads.
see him yet.
He's in the garage.
I want to see him.
With some like human pumpkin heads and stuff, and that's where I'm going to have a lot of pumpkin monsters. So I'm probably going to have an actor jump out of there. Now this has gone through a lot of changes since even a couple days ago because I went back to the farm and I figured out some new things. Originally, this was only taking up the pasture where Oddville does. If you notice by now, this is way bigger than the tent that Oddville was in because this goes outside. The house is in the tent, and there's another scene that's in the tent, which I'll get to in a bit. But it leaves the tent and it goes around the whole pasture area, which is something it's never done. So that's a thing. But now it's bleeding into the little roundabout around the water tower.
Is that what that
That's
circle
what
is?
that circle
Okay.
is. So if you guys saw the Winterville video, or if you went to Winterville, you know that there was a roundabout, and that's where a lot of the Winterville stuff was. The haunt's cutting over there now, and it's going around there, and that is the fall festival or village square. My biggest concern with that is it's very open, and there's not really any walls I can put there. So I'm wondering how actors are going to go there. And actually on this diagram, I just have a few circles just floating around because those are just going to be actors that kind of walk around the area because I don't have any jump out spots there. But essentially, that's where it's going to be like the vintage Halloween on steroids section because it's just going to have corn stalks, hay bales, black and orange banners, black cats, skeletons, all this stuff kind of concentrated very heavily in that section for sure because that's the Halloween festival. That's where it's all going down. But then you'll cross the bridge there because there is a bridge that goes over the water there, and you'll head into the forest, which is back into the pasture now, which is just going to be like a little spooky forest, which will then lead into the final scene and the second most detailed scene behind the decrepit house,
Hello?
which then heads back
The black cat
into...
has been summoned.
I have the perfect timing too. It heads back into the tent, so it goes out of the tent, back into the tent, but it's at a different part of the tent now that's blocked off from the house, and this is the witch's house. So, ending on the most Halloween-y thing ever, which is a wicked witch, is going to be the final scene, and she's going to be in there stirring her cauldron or whatever, and that is where the haunt exits out the side. So it's complicated, but I don't think it's going to be that difficult, simply because there's not a lot of walls that like need to be painted and stuff, and that's what's the worst part for me usually, is I don't like painting stuff. Most of this is just fences and stuff like that, and then really ultimately what it all will come down to is adding props and details and stuff. So that's I think it's a lot, and it's definitely going to take longer to set up than Onville, but I think it's going to be fairly simple stuff to pull off, especially with a team working on it. Mac, you said you had some inputs when you first saw this, and I want to know if you still have anything.
Well, it wasn't really. I guess one question is, how tall are your facades going to be? Like, are they going to cover the tent, or are you just saying screw it?
About probably 12 to 13 feet tall, like the clown was, I'm assuming.
So it's a double storied house.
It has one story with windows, the other story is just kind of the slanted roof, but it's going to be slanted in... It's like the barn for Winterville, where it was slanted in proportion to the tent.
I see.
And the witch's house is going to be like that too, but the witch's house is going to be smaller. It's not going to cover the whole width, because it's like a fairy tale witch cottage. So it's very...
I was just going to ask that. So it's not really a house, it's like a hut?
Yeah, it's like a and I'm going to do the effect with Winterville with the chimney and the smoke coming out the top like that with that. So that's going to be very like...
Oh, so she's outside the hut?
No, she's inside. But the chimney... Remember how on top of Jack Frost's cabin I had the chimney?
Yeah.
That's going to be...
The cauldron?
No.
Oh.
It's going to be a chimney.
Mm-hmm.
A chimney on the roof of the house.
Oh, I see. Okay.
She likes to cuddle up by the fire.
Yeah,
she does.
She's a cozy
She's cold-blooded.
witch. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's cool.
A part of me, when I look at that giant circle, I'm like, all right, we need some hardcore people just to get in that water in there.
And just jump.
And
yeah.
just jump out.
I'm thinking in October it's not going to have water, more than
really?
likely, because, I mean, October is usually fairly dry.
So why... Is that, like, water collected from the rain?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
water
I never
gets
knew
in from the
that.
rain.
Filled,
Because most of our Winterville
Oh,
nights, it
rains.
didn't have water, and then there was one day where it rained, and then the next day it was filled with water.
I remember that.
So, yeah, I don't know. If we have a dry October, which we more than likely will.
Maybe you just, I don't know, fill the bottom with
I mean,
pumpkins or
that's
something.
in a way that's kind of better though, because then
pop out,
people
be like,
will get in the hole if there's no water in it, and they can just
I'd do
crouch
it.
down and no one will see them.
I'll be
True.
doing a similar gag over at Shelter 16 because there is a little, like, ravine thing that's pretty deep, and so I'm
Right.
going to be having a fog machine in there, possibly even a low-lying if it'll actually work, because low-lying uses the cold, but it's going to be probably hot still in October because Florida. But if I can do it right and have some lights in there, I want it to look like a little creek, and then have a actor under the fog that pops out.
Yeah.
So you could do
That could
something
be-
similar there if it actually is dry, one, and two will actually fill that.
My biggest thing with that section that's a worry, for one, like I said, it's very open. Two, that little circle in the middle, Sadie hasn't seen it yet, the other two have, so I kind of want their input on this, and I think it's a good thing to discuss on here, because you guys can even let me know in the comments what you think I should do with this. There's a tower there, a wooden tower right in the middle of that circle, and I have absolutely no idea. There needs to be something on that tower. I mean, it's a central thing that people are going around. There needs to be something on it. I have no clue what I want on that tower that's theme appropriate and makes sense.
Can people climb up on that tower?
Yes.
Yes, but I don't.
It's sketchy though.
I don't
did
trust
it. I did it for Christmas as the Yeti.
I don't
You
trust
climbed up
it.
there?
I climbed up,
Yeah.
but I would not
I keep-
recommend it because, like,
I keep thinking about a vampire. Do you not like vampires?
I like vampire. I don't know if they're the vibe for.
No, you don't think so?
I don't know.
Classic vampire, kind of up in the tower, swooping down. I don't know.
well, I have a couple of ideas.
It
your
would
ideas are
probably.
better go
It would probably have to be a prop is the only thing, because
Oh, right.
I don't want, because the boards up there, I don't want people falling through, like, I feel it's just
I
not
get that.
super sturdy.
So one idea, the cheapest, idea. Well, actually, both of these can be reasonably. One is I don't know if this is supposed to be like it's a witchcraft area. I'm not sure how like.
Not that part.
I was just gonna say you couldn't make it like a Halloween-y version of the maypole. With like the little trick-or-treaters out there. Like you have a couple props out there like around the thing.
Maybe, I don't know.
Or like some like sheeted ghost kids holding the maypole.
I don't know the logistics of how I would keep that
have to look
sturdy
at
is
that.
the it's an
heads,
idea.
kind of. Like some kind of like one of the creatures, or you could even make a new one and kind of like they're like collecting like trick-or-treaters' heads. And you could kind of have them like hanging up. So, like, they're kind of, like, killing off the trick-or-treaters, and the trick-or-treaters can be trying to run away. Because, like, they're all supposed to be, like, attacked, right? Like, they're getting attacked. We don't know who's attacking them. We haven't come up with that exact storyline. Unless you wanted, like, the witch or Trixie to be it, but you could have one extra character. That could be the creature, could be attacking the trick-or-treaters, and they could have heads hanging from this pole. I've never seen it, so I don't know how logistical that is, but...
Or you make it into a structure. Like, you add walls to the sides. Right. And then, because there's one part where the land connects, and then the monster can run out at that point.
I could. I don't know. I'll have to take a look at it next time I'm there, because I got to see if it's if I don't remember the slant or the angle it's on. Huh.
Isn't that...
questions.
That's not a graveyard. You said it's a festival?
That is the village. That's the town square.
Because that'd suck if it was
that's where the festival is taking place.
Spirit of Autumn, do you want to pop out in the town square?
Hey, maybe.
That'd be interesting. I was going to say if that was the cemetery, you could make it, because it's kind of rectangular, you could make it a mausoleum, and have the corpse come out.
I mean, ooh.
Like, add 4, or add 3.
Like that one.
Wait.
So you could add 3 gray walls to make it look like a mausoleum in the center, and then the one wall...
Emmeline.
The thing is, I don't think
Don't say that.
She wouldn't jump out that far.
Yeah, she does. She's huge.
Not over the water.
That area doesn't have water. It has
a
piece of land that comes out.
Is this a person?
It's a prop with a scissor mech.
Huh. You know what? That might be a good... So then, in that case, I'm thinking I move the festival to where the shack is, because they kind of fit the same vibe. And then that's the cemetery, because I wasn't sure where I was going to move the cemetery to. Because for classic Halloween, you kind of need a graveyard. That might be a good option, because it's easy for sure.
I'm just trying to think of what else goes in a festival, because festivals are usually mobile.
Right.
So what?
Most of it was going to have a bunch of hay bales and corn stalks and pumpkins and just Halloween decorations. But the actors would have been pumpkins, more than likely, pumpkin creatures, as well as the goblin was probably going to go there too.
Well, do you know where Trixie's going to be yet?
I think she's going to be more of a wanderer. Like, she can go wherever.
Okay, because I was going to say easy peasy.
But she could definitely fit in there.
Yeah.
I think to have her confined
like
to that.
Overflow kind of in it. And I don't know, maybe kids' heads, because she's killing off the trick-or-treaters to get the candy.
You know what?
I love that.
That might kind of work better to put the festival over by the pumpkin shack then, because I did want to do like human heads turned into pumpkins at the shack.
I just feel
so
like
that kind of fits.
If we're trying to get like I feel like some center character could be in the middle, and then it overflowing with layout, like candy heads. Trixie can be popping out. Some character I feel like needs to be popping out, and it needs to go like something needs to be overflowing in said fountain area. I feel like.
Right. If you got this pumpkin inflatable, you would win Halloween.
It's probably so expensive.
It's $800.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Look how big it is.
Oh wow.
If you put it on top, I think it would probably crush that thing, actually, because that's probably heavy.
Yeah,
but something like that on top to look like a... Because that wooden tower is rustic, and I think it would fit that aesthetic, which would partially be a shame to then, like, board it up, but you could.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to look at it when I'm there again.
There's options.
There's a lot of... We spent like 15 minutes talking about just this one tower.
Yeah, but it's a pivotal part of this.
It is a pivotal thing. It is like the big roundabout.
Yeah.
For sure. But that's all I'm going to talk about with the layout. I want to put this time for any closing thoughts on stuff. Anything anyone wants to say. Whoever that may be. the time's now.
Can you give me a moment? I can get myself together. Hold on.
I'm interested of how the event will go this year because we have a half haunt, half trail, and a rave.
And a scare
and
zone.
a scare zone.
Oh,
Last year, it was a hayride, a haunted trail, a haunted house,
And a scare zone. Yeah.
So we've lowered the price. Thankfully, I think that's a good thing. I think we'll see a lot of the same people showing up potentially because it seemed like a lot of people were very excited about last year. Mm-hmm. I'm curious how the absence of a hayride will manage and we still have 2 attractions. We're just really minus a hayride because I shifted over. Mm-hmm. And then the introduction of the rave to see if that brings a different clientele. I don't know.
They did it at Busch Gardens. I remember walking past one of the haunted houses and there's girls on these things dancing. It was loud music and I was like, what? I was like...
And I will say that may be something that we'll have to consider going forward. I guess this year is an interesting test because if it is very popular, the rave thing, we may have to incorporate some actors with that. Mm. I don't know what that would look like yet. But that might have to be a part of us. Like, we make a scare zone to go with the rave. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Did we talk about where the Oddville scare zone is?
Oh, we didn't. Yeah, I should probably touch on that.
What that looks like.
It's in that cut across that... Remember when last year in the middle of Winterville, when the whole building was, like, moved in the middle of the event? Mm-hmm. Those buildings were put there?
Right.
And there's that path now. It's going to go right through there. So it connects the haunt to the other side of the farm, essentially.
Gotcha.
So it's just a straight path, and I think that makes it a bit easier, for sure, to have just a straight path like that.
Makes sense. Cool.
What is there a structure to the traveling circus?
No.
It just...
They're just traveling.
Like, are there like anything they have to walk around? Like, are there crates?
There'd probably be stuff in the middle of the path, I'm sure. No big structures though.
Mostly prop and actors.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the posters are probably gonna be hung on the walls that are already there.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
Because like last year, the
AI
apocalypse was within kind of some bounds, and this is more free willy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll see how that plays out. But yeah.
Cool beans.
I think this is going to be a pretty great year for Fearville. I feel like this year, for some reason, is it just feels like a special year. And Max said this too. For some reason, 2024 just feels like it's going to be a good one. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because of building off of, first year 2022 was starting out, so it was kind of slow. Then 2023 had a huge jump in attendance and everything.
It did, especially at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was not expecting kind of the last weekend and even Halloween did very well. I can't speak for like the numbers exactly off the top of my head, but just my perception was I thought it went really well.
I think it's going to be a good season, like I said, just building off of the momentum of last year. I think it can only go up, especially, adding new people onto the team like Sadie, and I know I've already got some new actors interested. I think it's just going to keep expanding, and I think this is going to be it's like a new chapter year, kind of, because we're adding a bunch of new stuff, and we're... building on things that worked last year and changing a lot. Like the hybrid trail haunt thing is a first for Fearville. So I think it's going to be a big year in terms of
and we might get responses this year about like the addition of the rave or about the lack of a hayride.
Right.
Maybe we'll see like, oh, people really want that and we have to shift next year or, do something different.
Mm-hmm.
We really don't know.
Yeah. We'll just have to see what happens, but I think we're really going to have a lot of fun with it is the main thing. We got some cool themes, cool people working with us. It's going to be a good season, I am sure. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast now, and there's going to be so many more things coming. Haunt vlogs are going to start very, very soon, and you'll get to see Fearville progress. I'm going to start building this month, and setup at the farm is going to start end of this month. So... it is happening soon, way sooner than last year when it started in September. So super excited about that. So stay tuned. We all have Lindy. Plug your Instagram real quick because I know you did it last time.
Oh
but-
yeah, so my special effects account is at king_Boyan BOYN_2.0, and then my regular just like cosmetology, makeup, beauty, whatever, is just at king_Boyan_. So that's me.
All right, Sadie, you got any accounts you want to put out there?
Yeah. I don't know the name. Made this thing a long time ago. One momento. Yeah, it's just at SS. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna stutter. Okay, at SFX_Sadie. So SADIE.
All right, and sure you know Max by now if you're watching this.
Yeah, just go to Haunt Former. I have all my plugs to all the other crap on there.
And make sure to follow the Fearville Instagram as well because I post a lot of things on my personal, but the Fearville one I definitely want to have a little bit of traction for Fearville specific
I have
stuff.
a question about
Yeah.
that. I kind of tested the waters with it today. I just threw a random reel on my account and I put add Jaden as a collaborator.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something you're looking for.
I like that for sure. I'd say do add Fearville because then it can be put on the Fearville as a whole.
Yeah.
So just switch it
I'll
to.
just keep doing it, and if
Yeah.
you like it, you can be like, oh yeah, I want to add that one.
Yeah.
So.
I've done that before with some people.
Cool.
It gets exposure, so I think that's a good thing. But yeah, and head over to the site because pre-sale tickets are on sale now. We're doing a summer sale until the end of August, and then regular tickets are going to become available as soon as September rolls around, and it is basically the Halloween season by then. So get your pre-sale tickets, though, if you want to save money, because I want you to save money, too, so you should go do that. But come on out this October, and though most of you probably won't because you live nowhere near here, stay tuned this October because you'll see a lot of content for it, which I hope you're excited about. And other stuff coming up soon as the Halloween season quickly approaches. Remember that here lies Halloween.